Here is a video I did not expect to make. Invincible is a character that I had never heard of, nor did I know an Amazon animated show was being made until literally the day it was released. In all honesty, my knowledge of Invincible is absolutely zero, and when the show got released I had no interest in watching it, until I saw a fair few people on Twitter praising the show. So I thought, why not watch this animated superhero show about a character I've never heard of, written by the Walking Dead creator Robert Kirkman. I mean, it has to be alright, doesn't it? Finishing season 1 of Invincible, I was completely blown away by how much I loved the show. I think going into the series completely blind, not knowing anything about the character, increased my enjoyment, and the twists and turns were more engaging than if I'd researched everything beforehand. I mean, if I'd googled everything before watching Invincible, this moment probably would have had me like, boring. Instead, this moment had me like, minds will blow. So let's talk about Invincible. So Invincible is an animated superhero show which essentially parodies many superhero tropes and uses many character designs as its inspirations for the characters. I mean, you have the Guardians of the Globe, and just look at these guys. They're just the Justice League. We follow Mark Grayson, better known as Invincible, as his powers develop and he learns to become a superhero. And what I actually appreciate about this show is he is actually really bad at it. I mean, most of the time Mark gets beaten the shit out of, despite being called invincible. His father, Mark Grayson, is the superhero named Omni and is essentially the Superman of this world. Now here is the twist. Despite being the saviour of Earth, Omni secretly wants to overtake the planet for his home planet, Viltrum, as it expands its empire throughout the universe. Omni has integrated himself on Earth and plans to weaken their defences, so Earth will have no choice but to join the Viltrum Empire. This storyline is put in motion with perhaps one of the most brutal scenes I've ever seen, as Omni kills the Justice League. Sorry, I mean Guardians of the Globe. Heads are popping, necks are snapping, and heads are falling off. The scene is just an incredibly brutal and over the top scene, and I loved every moment of it. Now this major twist you would think would happen maybe halfway through the series, as we connected with Omni and the Guardians. But instead this scene is in the very first episode, and it's something I think benefits the series hugely. The first episode is maybe one of the weakest episodes, as the look and feel of the series is very Saturday morning cartoony. The episode has little blood and cursing and hits the usual superhero tropes, and you could actually mistake this show as more of a kids superhero show, but how wrong you would be. By putting this major twist right at the start, you hook viewers in. We don't need to learn about the Guardians because I've seen superhero team-ups before. If they're going to be generic characters like the ones I've seen previously, I already know everything about them, and having this twist right at the start captures audience members like myself who have little to no interest in this series. Now I know this is going to be something entirely different, and I love that, and I want to see how this series plays out. It's an encapsulating twist which I think is so beneficial to the show to be right at the start. The voice cast of this show is simply incredible. You have Mark Yun, J.K. Simmons, Sandra Oh, Walton Goggins, John Hamm, Justin Roiland, Mahershala Ali, Zachary Quinto, and those are just names off the top of my head. And this voice cast definitely elevates the show and is a big reason why this series did so well by having so many big name stars in it. And I think that is something that definitely drew me in when I realised that there were these huge stars in this show about a character I had never heard of. Now all of a sudden it's a show I am more interested in because it's all Hollywood A-listers. Something I hugely appreciate about Invincible though is compared to other superhero shows, there is no status quo to maintain. For example, when in Iron Man 3 the film says Iron Man is dead, we all know he isn't dead, because the Marvel Universe needs to return to its status quo, and that this will just be a plot point which tries to subvert what you think will happen in the film, but we all know Iron Man will be coming back. But because Invincible was a limited comic run and is a series creating its own universe, it can go in any different direction. When a character dies, that's it. That character is dead. It's refreshing and makes the series shock values more shocking. Invincible is not shackled to a universe to maintain, or having it set up spin-offs. It's its own story and can do anything it likes of it, which keeps the show engaging and fun. As said, the show is pretty brutal, but this is definitely something which helps it. And this does sound silly to say, but gives the show a kind of real world feel. For example, when Invincible is thrown through a building by Omni-Man, there are consequences for that action. People dive in the building, or when the Klaxons invade a city for about 20 minutes, thousands are killed. Because, that's what would happen in real life. And if Invincible punches someone in the face, well, that will shatter their jaw, because this man is literally Superman. All these elements allow the show to be more adult, and again add to the tension that when these superheroes fight, there will definitely be consequences. Now, whilst I have praised this show, for the sake of balance, I do need to speak about some stuff which isn't as good. And to start with, I want to talk about the animation. I see a lot of people bashing the animation of this show, and whilst it's not particularly polished and at times can be quite ugly, I do truly think this was a budget thing rather than an aesthetic choice. When you spend your entire budget on basically an A-list Hollywood cast, I doubt there would be much budget left for the animation. I expect the thinking was get the characters working, make the show a hit and get a bigger budget, then you can polish up the animation for future series, which I think we will see once series 2 and 3 are released. But at times I do agree the animation can be a bit jarring, especially when characters remain pretty still and just their mouth moves, as probably they didn't have enough time to animate the characters and wanted to keep the scenes as simple as possible. Additionally, after the Omni-Man reveal that he was a villain, the other side stories were not massively engaging, and the Omni-Man twist probably did overshadow the other stories. Personally, I would have loved to have seen much more Demon Darkblood, who was basically a Hellboy ripoff, as he seemed to be the only character Omni-Man was actually worried about, as he literally cannot kill him. When Omni-Man goes to confront him, he doesn't even attack him, despite us knowing Omni-Man doesn't really care who he faces. I really enjoyed when this character was on screen, and it was a shame to see him go in episode 4. Other than this, Invincible was a show I was extremely surprised by, and I'm really happy I sat down to watch this. And it's nice to just find a series you know nothing about, haven't researched it, and can just enjoy it. But I am now off to ruin the rest of the series, as I will be reading the 170 issue comic book run, as I've now become a massive Invincible fan. But this show blew away any expectations I had, and it was just enjoyable to sit down, watch a show, and have no expectations for it, and just enjoy it week to week. So, thank you for watching.